YouTube, Ninja Midget here. This is going to be the complete assembly of the Ruger 1022 rifle. I'm going to start off with the bolt. Things you'll need with this that'll help: your bench block, roll pin punch. You've got a roll pin on this part of the gun, and of course your hammer for persuasion. The parts you'll need are your firing pin spring, your ejector spring, ejector rod, and your ejector itself, your roll pin, and of course your bolt body. Now this goes together really easy. First thing you want to do is you're going to take your extractor spring, slide that in there, your extractor spring pin, slide that in there, and then you're just going to slide the extractor in, providing a little bit of downforce on this as you do, and it will slide into place. Just there you go. Get it started, you'll hear it click into place. Real simple. Next thing, what we want to do is, because it's a roll pin and they tend to be a little bit tight, we're going to go ahead and get this started on our bench block. So go ahead and put that in there, give it some taps, get it seated. Okay, it looks like it's just about ready to come through on the inside here for your firing pin. So the first thing you want to do is you're going to grab your spring, you're going to grab your spring for your firing pin. You're going to lay it in there so it's oriented in that forward position. Then you're going to slide your firing pin in from the back, until it slides in and captures that spring, and you'll feel the spring tension on that. And so then what you want to do is maintain that spring tension, and you want to push it forward as much as you can while you're tapping this into place, just until it captures that. And you can tell when it does, because it doesn't want to slide out anymore on you after it captures that. So you just go ahead and give it some more taps, make sure it's going in place fine. Use your it's a 5/32 inch punch, and you're just going to go ahead and hammer that into place. It does take a little bit, it's kind of tight, but just that, hammer that in until it's flush, and just like that, there you go. There's your bolt assembled. You check the functionality of your firing pin again, that's working fine. Make sure your extractor's functioning, and we're good to go. On to the next step. Okay, for our next step, we're going to just need our, this is our pin that goes in the back of the action after you get the bolt in, your assembled bolt, and your charging handle with the retention spring on it. First thing you're going to want to do is you're going to slide this in, up like this, get that in place like that. And now this is a little tricky. You want to get your bolt in, slide it on down like this. This is the part that gets tricky on you. We'll be able to push this back without it jumping up on you, so that you can get it underneath your bolt. And then, oops, see, it's going to want to slide forward on you like that. So it does that. Just go ahead and be patient. Try getting it started again as I bang my camera here. Getting it started again. Some backward pressure. Seems to have locked up on me here. There it goes. It wants to lock up on you. It wants to jump out on you. So you just want to get that in behind that bolt so that that bolt can slide down for you. tricky. Keeps wanting to slide forward on you. Like that. There we go. Is that it? That might just be it. That, I think, is it. There we go. So that's a little tricky, getting that in there. It's just a matter of getting it back in the right spot so you can slide that in. And then lastly, what you're going to want to do is you're going to go ahead and slide in your stopping pin here. And that's what locks it into place. Oops, maybe I can show it on here. There's your stopping pin that goes in there. That makes sure that your bolt doesn't come back enough for it to release. There you go, your bolt's all in the gun now. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and put our safety in. And if you do not have a tool like this to put your safety in, you will probably need to get something like this. Either make it, and I've got a video I'll link to where I show a real easy, simple, and cost-effective way to make something like this. I made this on my lathe. But if you try to do this without a tool like this, I speak from experience. You are probably going to launch this little detent spring into the stratosphere and you will never see it again. I had to order a new one as I was getting prepared for this video. So that's what got me to create this tool. Now what you first want to do is you're going to go ahead and slide this tool in. You can see down in there that it's angled about a 45-degree angle, because that's what the what that hole is in there at. It's not straight 90-degree angle. It's about a 45-degree angle that hole is in. So what you want to do is you're going to go ahead and grab something that you can use to go ahead and put that down in there. You grab your detent. Before I do that, I'm going to slide this around this way. It's a little better vantage point there. Okay, so we're going to grab our detent. We're going to go ahead and put it in there so I can get it in the right orientation here. Slide it down in there. Oops. And of course my pliers are magnetized, so it doesn't want to work with me here. Put that back together. Slide that down in there. If it's going to work with me here. There we go. Okay, there we go. Now, what you want to do is move that around until you feel it go down into that hole, and you'll see it slide down in there. Then you're going to want to push it down in and rotate. And what that's done is that's now captured your detent in there. So pull your pin out. And now what you can do is you can make sure that your firing pin is going in the right direction. You want to make sure that the red stripe is on the left side of the gun, and you want to make sure that the flat surface is pointing up. And you don't want to put this flat surface in down. It will be a bear to get that out of there if you put that in the wrong way. So you just make sure you maintain some pressure on your device, on your tool, so that as you're pushing that in, it doesn't jump up on you. You might have to push your safety down to get it the rest of the way in, but then it just springs in just like that. And there you go. Safety's all together. Working great. Now, let's see what we're going to do next. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and put in our mag release. And this goes in just like this. It's got your spring over it. And you want to push that in so that it goes all the way down. It can catch and not go all the way down. There's a little lip that it'll catch on where it'll go just that far. And I'll wiggle it around until it goes all the way in. Hold tension on that. And then you're going to slide your release up into place. And you can see here where it's going. It's going right up. Let me see if I can get, yeah, it's going right up in there. See that? That's where it's going. Once you get it up in there, you're going to line up the hole. And you're going to grab your pin. Should have had it handy to begin with. There's my pin. And we're going to go ahead and just slide that down in. And now on mine, excuse me, on mine, I put tape over this because this pin on mine is really just, it slides right out on me. So I will put some a little bit of tape down on either side just to hold that in while I'm working on this. Otherwise it keeps sliding out on me and I have to put this back in. But there's your functioning mag release now. So let's see what to do next. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to get our trigger and our disconnector is this one, and our sear into our trigger and in place with a slave pin so that it'll be easier to put in the gun. This is something that I made myself. It's just something that slides in here, holds everything together while I get it in the gun, and then it slides out when I put the pin in, and just makes it a lot easier. You can do this without having the slave pin. Slave pin just makes it much easier. And now this is the orientation that these go in. You see these two holes, the disconnector and your sear. That's where your spring is going to end up. So the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to put your sear in. You're going to get your slave pin in. Go ahead and get that in place. Then you're going to want to get your spring in your sear. Then you're going to go ahead and put your disconnector down on top so that spring rests inside that little detent. Go ahead and line that up. It's not too hard to line up. Just using your finger for putting some tension on it. And now there you go. There's your disconnector and your sear in place. And that's the correct orientation. Okay, so now what we want to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to grab our tension spring for our trigger and the detent, and now that goes back in here. It goes right in this hole here. So what you want to do is you're going to go ahead and put that down in there, and it sinks most of the way in. And then we're going to grab our, you have a couple different sizes of pins. This one that we're using on this part of the gun is the shorter pin, so we're going to use this pin. So we're going to set that right there. I'm going to go ahead and lay our trigger in like this. Go ahead and lay it in there and get some pressure going back on your trigger spring, and you can see how that brass is just starting to line up in there. And if you play around with it, and you can see why having this slave pin is a good thing here. Mess around with it, you can get it to go in for you. Sometimes you gotta fiddle around with it a little bit. And it helps if you depress that pin down in there a little bit sometimes. Your slave pin, sometimes it can be a little bit of a pain to get it started in there. So you just keep fiddling around with it, and there it goes. You see it pushing it out on this side. And there's your trigger all assembled for you. And you want to make sure that your safety works. There. That's not going down all the way. Where is it? You have to have your disconnector reset. There we go. Now when your safety's on, it's not going to go down all the way. When your safety is off, then it can go down all the way. And if you have your reset here, then that's when it's going to release your hammer. Okay, so we're good to go. Trigger's all done. Go ahead and get that set. And I just realized I completely forgot to put in my bolt stop. Now this is a Volquartsen bolt stop that I got, which is really good quality. But if you have a newer version that's got the spring loaded bolt stop, then this goes in exactly the same way. The older models don't have this little lip on here that tensions the spring on this and pulls it down. So, on those you won't have to worry about a spring. But that just slides in here like this. Slide it down so it mates up with that hole right there. Push your pin on through. There we go. And there's your bolt stop in place. Forgot about that little part because it's always a pain to work on it with this pin here that wants to come out on me. But that's your bolt stop in place. Now for the hammer. On the older versions of this gun, there were bushings that went in the hammer. On this newer model that I have, the bushings are just part of the hammer, so you don't have to worry about that anymore. Now what you want to do is the hammer goes in this orientation. Excuse me, I'm getting it backwards already. The hammer goes in this orientation in the gun. This is going forward this way, and you want to make sure that you have your spring in with this little bend down here. You want to have that on the lower part of the hammer because this is what's going to give your spring tension for your disconnect, your bolt disconnector. And you got to slide it under your disconnector till you get that hole to match up. It's kind of a pain in the neck sometimes. Oops. Sometimes you gotta flip it over and see if you can get it to line up on this side. And it doesn't want to. Oops. Come on, you. Get in there. Oops. Make sure you don't get that spring in a bad position. This is one of those things that's a little bit of a pain in the neck. It's got to be just in the right spot or it's not going to go in. I think I just got to start it. There we go. There we go. Okay. Very good. And this is in the right position here. Okay, so make sure that your hammer is functioning properly. You can feel it engage the sear. Safety's off, so I pull it and it goes forward, goes back, click, engages the safety. Okay, or engages the sear, excuse me. Okay, so now the last thing we want to do with this, well, actually one of the last things we want to do is we're going to put spring tension on our that's going to be spring tension on our bolt catch, that pulls that down when we're done, and we release it. So kind of push up on your bolt catch until that goes in. There we go. Now it's got your spring tension, so you can push that up. It'll spring back down for you. And now the last thing we want to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to move our hammer, pull your trigger, move your hammer all the way into the forward position. And hold on a second, of course, I didn't do one thing that I need to do. So I'm going to back this out because our ejector needs to go in now. So put our ejector in, get that in place, and then go ahead and push up our bolt hold and get that in place here. There we go. Now everything's in place. Now we go ahead and pull our hammer forward. Now we're going to go ahead and put our hammer strut in. It goes right down in this hole. Falls right back in there. And there's your spring tension on your hammer now. And now we have a completely assembled trigger group. Oops. Okay, this next part is super easy. We're going to want our hammer in the back position for this. And you're just going to go ahead and slide this up in here. Match up these holes. And we're going to tap our pins in. Usually start with the back one first. Goes in easy enough. Get our front one going. And there we go. Now check for functionality. Okay. Fires. Bolt release. Push that back. Push on up. There we go. Our bolt functions. Bolt release. Make sure our safety is still functional. Safety works. Turn the safety off. And we're good to go. Now, the only thing we need to do here is we are going to drop our action in the gun, and we are going to screw it in place. Go ahead and grab our magazine and throw that in. Now, the only thing left to do is we're going to go ahead and grab our barrel band. Move this down here a little bit. There we go. And because I've got the sling swivels on mine, I got to take the screw completely out of my barrel band so I can slide it over. Kind of stretch it across that. And go ahead and put it back together. Oops. That's easy enough to just get in there and get started. It's a lot easier when you don't have a scope on these things. There we go. Okay, that's not going anywhere. Go ahead and slide our wing swivel back on here. And there we go. You're completely reassembled Ruger 1022. Ready to go. Hope this has been helpful for some people. I know there's quite a few videos on this gun out there. Sometimes there's just a little bit of an angle that helps you with a certain part or whatever, but at any rate, thanks for watching.